Now a few things about fat. Have you heard of body mass index? Anybody heard of body mass index? If there are any fitness professionals out here, can you please tell me the formula for body mass index? Anybody? Sorry? Height upon? Weight upon height in meters. Complete the formula. Weight in kgs. Height in meters squared. Okay? You divide. So let's assume you take my body mass index. Okay? What is my body weight? How would you? My body weight is 85 kilos right now. Okay? So I'm 85 kilos in body weight. My height, this you really have to help me out. I'm 5'4". So in meters, how much am I? No, meters. 1.64? Fair enough. Calculate please. 85 upon 1.6 square. What is the BMI coming to?
1.64.
Sorry?
So it is 1.64.
What is 1.64?
So it is correct. What are the height in meters?
Height in meters is 1.64.
1.64. So 1.64, no problem. But 1.64 is square meter कितना आता है? जल्दी करके लो because I'll prove you something with these figures.
2.68.
2.68. So 85 divided by 2.68 करो.
33.2.
33.2. Thank you. Now, if you look at body mass index charts, a factor of about 30 puts me in the obese category. You get it? Puts me in the obese category. And I'm wearing a size 32 waist jeans right now. Now, we can put in somebody else. This is called as the body mass index, followed by the medical community for a long time. The problem with body mass index is it can actually judge non-athletic population or population who is not doing anything to improve its body composition. It can judge fairly what the needs are non-exercising individual, right? So in a non-exercising individual, supposing it's not me, but it's somebody else who's 5'4" in height, 85 kilos. You apply the same formula, he also gets 33.2 as his body mass index. If he's not a bodybuilder, or if he's not done anything to change his body composition, despite the BMI being the same, he'll look completely different from me. He'll probably be completely round. He'll probably have a waistline of 42 instead of 32. That's the problem with BMI. So how do you judge now? And secondly, what happens with BMI is that sometimes a person is getting very good results from the point of view of body composition, but the BMI keeps on worsening. Now there are places, there are industries that work on BMI. The airline industry works on BMI. And sometimes a person is actually fitter and the person is made to or not selected based on BMI. No athlete, no competitive athlete will ever have an ideal BMI. You get it? And especially if it's a strength athlete with more muscle to fat ratio. Obviously muscle being dense and more weight more, the BMI goes for a toss. So what should we be worried about? We should be worried about fat percentage. What do you mean by fat percentage? Now here, I told you two people, me and somebody else, both have the same BMI because we both have the height and weight being the same. But my fat percentage right now must be around 15%, whereas the fat percentage of that person could be around 35%. So that means that out of the 85 kilos, okay, 15% of 85 kilos is the amount of quantum of fat in me, and 35% of 85 kilos is the amount of quantum of fat in that other person. Now the BMI is the same. How do you measure body fat? Well, there are machines, okay? The simplest machine to measure body fat is your calipers. You've seen calipers when you're using fitness tests? And of course, you see those plastic calipers. Again, it's an investigative tool. So obviously the tool has to be branded, has to be expensive. Really good calipers that will show you an error-free reading would cost you somewhere in the region of about 40 to 50,000 rupees, just those calipers. The best brand being Harpenden. Now, if you have Harpenden calipers, you also need a person who's a skilled tester, because it's supposed to be basically pinch folds taken and taking the measurements. Okay, they're like those vernier calipers, similar, but you take those measurements. You need a person who's at least done 1,000 readings for him to be considered to be a professional tester. So there is error that can be there in the calipers, there is error that can be there on the human side, on the tester's side. If the reading is taken slightly delayed, fat is a tissue that gives in. So the calipers put, and you don't immediately take a reading and you delay, what happens is the calipers keep going in and give you a false reading. If you're not pinching aggressively, I've seen testers who themselves are a bit conscious. So you see, if a female is testing a male, you'll be like, you're supposed to be professionals, you're supposed to be people who are testers. And when you test, you're supposed to pinch in a way that would actually, the person should feel that the person is pinched hard. Otherwise, you don't really get a pinch fold. Not like this polite thing. You obviously get a wrong reading again. So there are many reasons why your caliper readings also will go wrong. Then you've got a very expensive machine called as dual X-ray absorptiometry, DEXA machines, which earlier were there for basically measuring your bone density, but they also found that these machines can measure the amount of fat. Extremely accurate if you can find it. Okay, so if you can find it, then a DEXA machine can give you a very, very accurate reading. Another gold standard which was considered to be very accurate in terms of getting a fat percentage was hydrostatic weighing. That is basically immerse the whole body underwater, find out body density and all these complicated formulas. Again, you need a huge water tank, you need to be immersed in water, extremely inconvenient. And again, readings were fairly accurate. Okay, and then you have the machines that you see in most of the gyms, which are your handheld bioelectrical impedance machines, or even the ones on which you stand. Those are highly inaccurate. They've been known to basically give an error margin of plus minus 5%. Which is why sometimes people ask me, why do you don't have that machine? That very machine costs 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs of the nice ones, the good ones, to reduce the error margin slightly, but it still gives an error margin. So 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, I would rather give my members another treadmill than a goddamn machine that's going to read and give them a readout of their fat percentage. The reason for these error margins is because electrical current goes to the body. Various tissues give various levels of impedances, that is obstruction. Some tissues conduct electricity very well, some tissues create impedance. Water is another thing which conducts electricity, and the hydration status of the body can differ from time to time. There are protocols to be followed. If somebody is taken at 7 in the morning after urination and on an empty stomach, then he should take the next reading also at 7 a.m. in the morning after urination on an empty stomach. If he is taking the test seated, he should take the test seated. If he is taking the test standing, he should take the test standing again. There are various protocols. He should be wearing loose clothes. People don't think about all that. How do they do it in commercial gyms? I'm walking by, suddenly see the machine, hey, test them. You've been through a very hot day, a humid day. You lost a lot of water, or today you drunk a lot of water. If the hydration status is different, the reading goes completely different. And then you get disappointed. Secondly, the point is, the people who actually ask for 5% readings are the ones who are not really seeing visible, tangible results. The point is fat loss, because fat is like thermocol, it takes a lot of space. So when you're actually achieving fat loss, the look changes drastically and very, very fast. So when that fat loss happens, you don't need to check. 10 people will tell you, you're looking damn good. I mean, what have you done? Look at your waistline. You will have to bloody rebuy a wardrobe because the same clothes won't fit. You won't require a machine. But you can't see any difference. You can't see any change. Nobody's saying you've changed. So then you keep going, test karna, 8% come away, 0.5 away, These are the people who are not seeing results, who are extremely keen on wanting those sheets of paper coming out. The best test out of all is my naked test in front of the mirror. See, fat can be pinched, that we've already asserted, right? The caliper test itself is based on the fact that fat can be pinched and muscle cannot. Muscle can be pinched. Fat and skin can be pinched, but muscle cannot be pinched. So it can be pinched. Fat gives into gravity, it sags. There were people who used to talk about मेरे ना इधर फैट ज़्यादा नहीं है, लोअर एब्डोमेन में फैट ज़्यादा है. वो लोअर एब्डोमेन में फैट ज़्यादा नहीं है, वो ऊपर का फैट ऊपर नहीं रहता, इससे जाके वो लटकता है नीचे. तो वो एब्डोमेन का फैट है और वो जितना बढ़ता है ना, बढ़ते वो लोअर एब्डोमेन तक जाएगा. It sags, it gives into gravity. Then there are people who talk about आपका fat कड़क है, जम गया है. So you heard all this? The whole vibrator belt was based on that only. Because see, this is what you might say. I have the gift of the gab because I can talk for 3 hours and I can engage also 3 hours. And the gift of the gab can be misused also. There are those guys who I call as they're always ready with an answer. So the fitness professionals, when you don't have knowledge on your side, you should be एकदम what is it called hazard jawabi. जब भी question पूछो एक आंसर आना चाहिए. So then, more bachcha is another word for it. So this guy is on the vibrator. Luckily, I don't mind being a bit cocky and vain about this, but I'll tell you one thing. There has been with the K-level influence that if you are not seeing the vibrator bells anymore, if you are not seeing some figure control room in some gym which used to be earlier there, it has been because of our constant endeavors towards educating people. Otherwise, some ridiculous shit used to be there. Even amongst the most reputed chain of gyms in India, some ridiculous shit used to be there. There used to be a room, special room, in which you would only have these electrical gadgets. So you would have that belt, and one fat fellow going on the belt. Then there was another one which was a roller, on which people would lie down and put their bellies and start it off with the roller. All kinds of stuff. Now, one fellow actually happened to ask the trainer, "Kya isse hota kya hai?" So the trainer immediately looked at this. This is what I'm talking about. This is presence of mind. तो आपका फैट बहुत कड़ के उसको पहले हम तोड़ के आए. उसका सब वाइब्रेट करके छुपा. बाद में वो जल्दी से निकल जाएगा. This makes sense because it makes pictures in the person's mind. He's actually seeing the fat getting broken down and becoming easier to burn. So first of all, we don't ask. And when we ask, we get some weird answer which we don't question. Now, the only way you can actually use fat jiggles, fat shakes, fat gives into gravity. Okay, so stand in front of the mirror and stand naked and then start jumping up and down. Then stop jumping up and down. Whatever is still shaking is fat. Muscle doesn't vibrate. And keep doing that. Because as you progress in fat loss, there will be less and less jiggling that is not happening. Jiggling doesn't happen with muscle. Muscle doesn't turn to fat. Muscle doesn't sag. Muscle can only hypertrophy, that is increase in size. Muscle cells can increase in size or atrophy. With lack of usage, they shrink. Sometimes people talk about old bodybuilders who look shapeless. You see old bodybuilders? You can't call them, see old bodybuilders, you would call, who would I call an old bodybuilder? Manoraj. Because he's still bodybuilding. And he's old. How old is he? He's 90 plus. 100 हो गया.
105.
And I'm at 105. Are you sure?
101.
I remember seeing him on stage at the age of 91. At the age of 91, I've seen him flexing muscles. Of course, I've post 100 now, but at 91, he was looking very impressive on stage. Can you imagine a 91-year-old arm popping with muscle when you flex? That's amazing. So that I can call a bodybuilder. But bodybuilders who have left bodybuilding are no longer bodybuilders. They're ex-bodybuilders, retired. So most of them you find people like hanging, and there is this notion that he was carrying so much muscle, all that is now he's hanging. Muscle doesn't have the attribute of hanging, cannot hang like this. That is not muscle. Muscle is shrunk and he's added fat, which now is hanging. Fat hangs, muscle doesn't hang.